panel discussion on the cybersecurity. I'm Professor Iqbal Gondal, Associate Dean, Cloud System and Security in the School of Computing Technology here at RMIT University. Before we start, I would like to acknowledge the people of Woiwurrung and Wurrung language groups of the Eastern Kulin Nations, on whose unceded lands we conduct the business of the university. RMIT University respectfully acknowledges their ancestors and elders, past, present, and emerging. And while we conduct our work remotely, I want to pay my respect to the wider unceded lands of this nation. As everybody knows that the cybersecurity has been in the news lately, a lot of it. And we hear that the globally, a lot of companies and the organizations, they get hacked, their personal data gets stolen. And not only the organizations, but the governments and the political parties even, they get affected as well. So I never thought that I would repeat these words, but if you remember that many years ago, Donald Trump, infamous quote during 2016 US election campaign, he said, "Russia, if you are listening." Just imagine if the future president of the United States of America at that time did not know if the Russia is listening or is not listening. So we should be very careful and prepare ourselves a lot of things. Close here to home, Australian federal government announced a massive boost to the sector with Australian cybersecurity strategy in 2020. They announced to invest $1.67 billion to build new cybersecurity capabilities and facilities in the country. It's clear that cybersecurity is a growth industry, and that's evolving rapidly, in fact. So what does cybersecurity involve, and what type of the skills we need to get those unique roles in the industry? So we are very lucky to have a fantastic panel here this evening, which includes academics and researchers, industry experts, and professionals. And some of them, we are lucky to have them. They are our alumni as well. They will share their knowledge and insight and stories and answer all of the questions which you might have about the cybersecurity. So let's meet them. The very first one, we have got Professor Matthew Warren, who is the director of RMIT Center for Cybersecurity Research and Innovation in RMIT University. Although he is in the Business College of Business and Law, but of course his expertise is welcomed in all over the university and in the industries. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And we have got Mr. Abbas Kodati, who is Chief Cybersecurity Advisor, and he's a good friend of RMIT University, and he is at the Microsoft Asia. Welcome, Abbas.
Thank you for having me.
And we have got Ms. Jessica Cruz. She's associate with cybersecurity and digital trust with PwC, and we are very proud to say that she is RMIT alumnus 2019. Thanks, Jessica, for being here. And we have got Mr. Peter Kaidas, who's a product security engineer with Zendex, and he is also RMIT alumnus 2019. Peter, thanks for being here. And we have got Mr. Alex Rosenwig, security engineer, Afterpay, and RMIT alumnus of 2018. And I look forward, Alex, one day, rather than Afterpay, we have to have do not need to pay. I hope that day comes one day as well.
Yeah, I don't know if that's on the product roadmap, but thank you for having me.
Thank you. And Mr. George Hanna, Managing Director and Founder, HD and IT. Thanks, George, being here.
Thank you.
So welcome to today's discussion. So before we start, I would like to remind our viewers that we will have 15 minutes of questions and answers in the end of the session. So if you have a question, please post into our tool, which is for the question and answers. So welcome everybody, and let's kickstart now our conversation with our panel discussion. So my first question is for Abbas. The very basic question, Abbas, is can you please tell us what is a cybersecurity in fact?
Thank you, Professor Iqbal. I think that's the toughest question. If you ask anyone in the room, everyone will have their own definition. What is cybersecurity? And I have my own way to describe what cybersecurity is. But to describe cybersecurity, I might have to take you back almost 20, 22 years when I started my journey into so-called IT. So from IT, it became information technology or IT security, which was mostly focused on firewalls, routers and switch security. Later on, IT security became information security because the remit of information technology expanded not only from the hardware and the network layer, it was focusing on all the 10 or 11 domains of information security, including people security, data security, application security, physical security, and whatnot. Later on, we came into the world of a digital. That's where the cyber security word was coined, where my definition, stay protected while connected. So the whole focus has shifted from not only the network centric point of view or the data centric point of view or the information centric point of view, it has become more for the connected world, to the digital world. That's where the ransomware, the malware, the digital security, and DDoS attacks, and all those things came into more attention. So my definition, short and sweet, stay protected while connected. That's the definition of cybersecurity, according to me.
Thank you very much, Abbas. So that gives me impression that we're talking about the business continuity, where the technology should ensure that the business continue their operation. Thank you very much for a wonderful response. Now let's looking at if we look at the cybersecurity and how it become much more prominent from mid 80s. When the initial products when came into antivirus, for example. So field has quite boomed up from there onward and is now essential part of nearly every business and government department, and one that offers a suite of roles. Now, my next question is more to our Professor Matthew Warren. Matt, can you tell us what technological advances have led to an increased need of cybersecurity, in fact?
Thank you, Iqbal. Great question. And really, what we've seen in society is a development of all forms of technology. We now have internet, faster internet. We have 5G, 6G. And what's happened is all of that technology and faster process power has led to development of cloud systems, quantum computers, IoT, Internet of the Things, which are devices that are connected to the internet. So what's happened is all of this boom around technologies has embedded itself in businesses and has embedded itself in society, and this is what's driving everything. Is technology really has transformed our society in all parts of everything we do, whether it's work, whether it's play, whether it's entertainment.
No, thank you very much. And Peter, would you like to add anything further? What you think the technological advances have taken place?
I think that an increase in data processing and data collection and log metrics has been one of the driving forces as well. Like everyone likes to talk about big data, and then that's where you get your data for your AI and machine learning algorithms. So I think that the processing power is cheaper, storage is cheaper, and a lot of security is log ingestion. Like, it's bad to say, but the majority of it comes from having good logs and tracking them and making sure you know what's happening within your networks and products.
Thank you very much. And Abbas, what type of the cybersecurity roles are there at the moment in the market? Could you please highlight that one to our viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. And to support my answer, first, I want to give you some interesting statistics.
Sure.
So, and again, since I work for one of the biggest technology company in the world, Microsoft, because we collect that kind of data, or signals, if I may call it. So almost 8 trillion signals on a daily basis, we analyze it. And what we notice that there will be 168 zettabyte of data will be uploaded on the internet by 2025. And by 2025, we are going to have 25 billion IoT connected devices. So which summarize what kind of roles are available and will be available in future. Number one, big data, data analytics. These kind of roles are huge in demand today and will be continue as well, because I think Peter, somebody just said that kind of analysis they do on the data, right? Next one is on the cloud architecture side, because everyone is trying to move their resources from on-premises to the cloud, so they don't no longer have to manage their own data center. So we are looking today, or many of the companies are looking today in terms of cloud architectures, the cloud security architectures, who can redefine the whole architecture framework what they have today on premises and take them to the cloud. Second set of things we are looking at, because there is a huge increase, different types of threats in the on the cyber world, malware, the DDoS, the ransomwares and whatnot. So there is a huge demand today for the threat hunters, the malware reverse engineers, if we are going bit on a technical side. Security analyst, you go to the SEEK and there will be at least 20 jobs available in the market at various levels who are looking for security analyst role within their cyber defense operations center or a SOC operations center as well. These are just sample one. I can go on sharing more list, which includes pen testings and many other, and governance and risk part as well. But just to highlight, these are some of the good roles out there in demand today in the market.
Thank you very much, Abbas. And let me invite Alex now. That Alex, particularly, Abbas had talked about data analytics related jobs and malware reverse engineering jobs. So if you could please explain that one as well, what type of the underlying skills and those roles, what they do, and for the other roles which you think are there for the cybersecurity graduates.
Yeah, so I can have a crack at that. So I'm going to take it in reverse order with the malware reverse engineering. It's really, it's actually kind of like what you do when you take apart a pen in school. You know, you pull it apart and you see how the pieces go, and then you put it back together so that you know how it works. And so malware reverse engineering is really about understanding how to look at something, pull it apart into its barest components, understand how it works, and then understand how to detect it. When we talk about data analytics and detections, that's really a growing space. As we have wider environments, cloud networks, we really need to understand what's going through that network. And these days, it's a huge amount of data. And so being able to determine what data is useful and what data is absolute garbage is a really, really important skill. And then knowing how to act with that data is another major skill. There's a couple of other jobs as well, like to highlight. I know Abbas would have as well. He left some time very kindly. I think red teaming and pen testing is obviously the sexiest job in security, as some might tell you. So breaking into buildings, getting to simulate real threat actors, getting to hack into computers yourself. The offensive side of security is really a growth market. It's a little bit saturated, but still growing. You've also got GRC and compliance, where you start to see companies trying to organize frameworks to help manage the security posture of their organization at scale in a consistent manner. I think the truth is with security roles as well, between now and 3 years from now, when people, or 4 years, 5 years, whenever someone wants to graduate, there will be 20 times more different roles. Sorry, there will be 20 different roles that have never even been spoken about that will exist, because as the field grows, the need for speciality and people who can do something in a niche just continues to grow out of control.
Thank you very much, Alex. I think that's very exciting to hear that there would be a lot more choices in the future for the graduates as well. Let me bring Peter here now. What are the hot topics in the industry right now, Peter? What do you think?
So the hot topics are obviously things we've touched on, like data analytics and the cloud. As more and more companies move to sort of a SaaS model, or where they don't have their infrastructure on premises, you see that the cybersecurity landscape starts to change with that now, where things like Azure Sentinel or the Azure security products are really big from Microsoft, and they're doing a really good job. I remember doing an internal or a red team, and they picked up everything I did. It was astounding. So got busted pretty quick, but it was a good time. But it's growing so fast. Like I think back to where we were 5 years ago, and we're still in uni for most of us. And some of these roles didn't exist at all. Like the role that Alex and I do is similar as product security engineers. I think only came about somewhere between 3 to 6 years ago. So it's really, you got to keep your finger on the pulse and look at what's happening in the industry and the roles out there and what you think you might want to specialize in.
Thank you, thank you. And George, what do you think that there are the hot topics in the industry right now at the moment in your sort of industry?
Yeah, sure. So in relation to the work that we do, which is servicing businesses across Australia, where we're seeing two sides. So in terms of the attack side and defense side, we're seeing an increase in supply chain attacks, definitely. Ransomware is still there and quite prevalent. Phishing is definitely still a predominant tool being used. And then on the prevention side, we're doing a lot of work on the Essential 8 and making sure that there's a lot of systems and protocols and policies in place to prevent these attacks. And we're also working towards a more zero trust model as well. There's a big emphasis towards that. So definitely those are the hot topics that we're seeing.
And Jessica, I think you are in PwC, and what do you see the hot topics in your sort of business and there in the industry?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like especially with the pandemic that we're currently in at the moment, a lot of organizations are kind of waking up, especially since a lot of them are moving to much more virtual environments and they're starting to think about all the threats that are out there, um, which has been good for us in a sense because it just meant that it's so much easier to work with clients who want to um, secure their assets and where I find we can be the fun police. It's so easy for security to be um, the blocker of no, you can't do this because of X. A lot of organizations are just much more willing and open to hearing about why security is important and everything that they need to do to keep their data and their people safe.
Thank you very much. And if we see that there's a lot of international cyber attacks on governments and key infrastructure, such as pipelines and the major infrastructure attacks are happening, do you see this is a modern form of warfare? Let me start with the Matt. Matt, do you think this is a new warfare now?
Oh, but I think what it is it shows our vulnerability and dependency on these critical infrastructures, and what it highlights is cyber attackers, whether they're governments or hacking groups, are able to attack that infrastructure and potentially disrupt our lives.
No, thank you very much. I think it's really, really important because critical infrastructure, they provide the services to the people and wanted to make sure they are safe and secure and business to keep operating. With such a wide range of the roles on offer, what are the key skills you need to work in the cybersecurity? Because that's very vital when the university, we are designing the courses, what skills students will have. Let me start with the past. What type of the skills you are looking for when you are hiring people, let's say fresh graduates?
Yeah. So as a fresh graduate, my one piece of advice and what I look for is they have to be passionate about the field they are stepping in, because cybersecurity is not like, okay, they are passed, done graduation, masters or bachelor's, and hey, I got a job and yes, I can sit there and spend time. This is a very, very fast growing industry. You have to keep up to date almost daily. I mean, at the current age and current role where I am, I have to study at least 1 hour to make myself up to date what's going around in that area. So first number of one skill, you have to be a lifelong learner. You have to have a passion about what the industry, what you're stepping into it. It's not that, okay, you will step into a pen testing role and you cannot move. There is always possibility of navigating yourself into one role to another role. So number one, passionate. Second, willingness to learn, and you should have that kind of a hunger to that. Third is eye for detail. You should have that particular attention to detail in the work which you do. Either it could be a security analysis, or it could be a threat hunting, or it could be a programming on the cyber side, creating the scripts, or doing governance, risk, and audit as a part of cybersecurity. Attention to detail is number one. I can talk about soft skills later on, but at least these two things I always look for: passion and willingness to learn, and attention to detail from the non-technical point of view. Technology I can teach you. If you have these two things, we will teach you technology once you join the job, at the job.
Thank you very much, Abbas, for that one. Let me bring Alex in it. Alex, what type of skill you see in the graduates when you are, let's say, hiring them, interviewing them? So can you please talk about that?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the times there's a broad range of skills you'll see and you'll look for, but really in graduates, I think Abbas was right on the money. It really is that passion. The thing to remember, right, is no matter what skill set you've got, that'll continue to evolve over time. And so you need that passion to drive you forward, to keep learning, to keep wanting to do it. Like when you enter any industry, not just cybersecurity, but any industry, you're going to be doing that job potentially, or variation on that job, for a long time. You know, you're going to get out of bed every morning and have to want to do that job. And so if you are passionate and you love what you do, then getting out of bed every morning and going to do the thing you love is a hell of a lot easier than getting out of bed to do something you don't love so much. And so I can't stress enough that passion, and when it shows through, when someone's really excited about cybersecurity, unbelievable advantage over any technical skill you could have.
Thank you very much. And Peter, what do you think that what sort of skills you look for in the fresh graduates, and those skills would be very useful in the cybersecurity industry?
I mean, everyone's hit it on the head with the passion. But technical skills are obviously something that you need as well, and they can come from a basic understanding of key technologies, things like Git or the cloud, different cloud services, what they provide and how they work. So fundamentally, you're looking for that base knowledge and people that can adapt pretty quickly. Like if they say they've got experience with Azure and I throw them into AWS, how are they going to handle that?
And what about the problem-solving type of the skills? And do you also, Jessica, look for those sort of the skills are vital in this industry as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think particularly in the type of work that I do, which involves some pen testing, there is a lot of problem solving, and I feel like resilience is really important, because a lot of the time you'll be stuck with a problem and you might not solve it in an hour or 2 hours, and sometimes you have to sleep on it. But I think that's where the passion comes in, and the hunger for knowledge and understanding how and why things work come in. So yeah, definitely problem solving, and just be willing to push through any blockers that come your way.
Thank you very much. Now that's absolutely. Now let me next. My question would be for the Matt. So it's more about the academic environment, because we wanted to ensure that the graduates, they develop right skills and knowledge, but then they can apply that knowledge at the workplace. So what programs does RMIT offer that would qualify someone to work in the cybersecurity?
Great question. Well, RMIT offers a number of courses. So at the moment, at the undergraduate level, there's a Bachelor of IT with a specialism in security and cloud computing. But there's a new course coming. There's, at the moment, a new course, which is the Bachelor of IT with a major in cybersecurity being developed, which contains courses, you know, in regards to penetration testing, as we've been talking about, cyber attacks, cyber analysis, incident management, cloud security, security testing, blockchain fundamentals. So really, that's a great course that's coming that really allows students to understand the fundamentals of cyber as well as the fundamentals of IT. And what's important is the industries involved in those courses. So AWS Cloud and Palo Alto will be involved in developing those majors and those courses. So again, it has that industry relevance. Other courses in terms of the College of Business, there's a Bachelor of Business with a cybersecurity minor. So again, if people have a business interest, there's an option. But there's also the Master of Cybersecurity. So this was the first master's developed in Australia in cybersecurity. It started in 2000. At that time, it was information security, now cybersecurity. So it's the longest running course. And really what it does is it looks at cybersecurity from the organizational technology as well as the human aspects. But what RMIT also offers is through RMIT Online, our delivery courses, is a number of short courses in a postgraduate certificate around cybersecurity, around cybersecurity governance. So really, RMIT is well placed to offer cybersecurity courses at all different levels, from undergraduate, postgraduate. And in terms of what students are taught, it's very much applied. It's working, in labs using, the latest technology that this industry uses. And as the panel has been sort of highlighting, there's the other aspects that are also important as part of the study in terms of, working as part of a team, those human skills, those presentation skills, all of which are sort of part of what RMIT does. And we have a number of RMIT graduates on the panel here tonight. Great to have you here. And I'm sure this is something you'll be talking about later, is how the RMIT courses, have helped you with your career. And in terms of why picking a career in cybersecurity, well, there's a shortage of cybersecurity professionals, not just in Australia, but globally. And what we're seeing is a shortage of jobs in relation to the different areas of technology, the different, policy aspects and human aspects. And when it comes to picking a career, you actually want to pick a career where there's lots and lots of opportunity, and certainly cyber offers those opportunities for career pathways.
Thank you very much for the comprehensive answer, Matt. And as you know that because of the COVID, our circumstances, the way we teach and the way we provide our sort of student, our services, that has changed quite significantly. How can you talk about that, how RMIT has pivoted itself to sort of create an learning environment where a lot of engagement with the student can take place, even we are in lockdown still. And
Yes.
if you can talk about that, please.
Yes, Iqbal, it's certainly been a challenging time. It's been our 6th lockdown, as people in Melbourne would know. And literally, RMIT has pivoted to deal with that. So, we've put our courses online, the lectures are online, the group activities are online, and we also, when permitting, bring the students back on campus to undertake, our traditional teaching. So what it shows is that RMIT is, very agile in terms of the way that we use technology. And because we're using, the latest online education systems, it means that we're flexible enough to offer that online delivery and then go back to face-to-face and go back to online, as unfortunately circumstances has meant that we've sort of, had to.
Definitely. Thank you, Matt. I think that was a great response, and that gives a perspective that how we are offering our education program. Now, let me ask about your personal, all of you, you have your career, you started, some of you are alumni and some you are in academic world. Tell us about your own story, that how you got here, and tell us about your career point of view. So let me start with Abbas first. That Abbas, could you tell me that you are now Chief Security Advisor now? Tell us about your journey, please.
That's going to be a very long answer, but those who are on LinkedIn, you can go to my LinkedIn profile, and I have 3 recorded interviews on what my journey was on cybersecurity. But to summarize it, actually, I started as an accountant. So I did my bachelor's degree in accountancy and auditing, but I had a passion about computers right from when I was a child, or when I was in high school. I wanted to study that, but I couldn't get into we call it ATAR in Australia. I couldn't get enough marks to get into an IT or a IT engineering course, and that's why I ended up doing an accounting. But after accounting, I did my diploma in information technology and straight away got into the very first job as a system administration. So I used to manage and fix printers and Windows 3.1 and Windows 95 during those days, and Linux and Unix systems and AS400. I used to maintain that. But from there, I got an opportunity to become a network engineer and network security and a firewall administrator. And one day, one of the company where I was working got hacked. One of our database servers was compromised, which triggered me. I'm very good in maintaining stuff, but I don't know how to secure. And that's where I changed my role from network security to become an ethical hacker or a pen tester. It used to be very cool those days, and also an IT auditor. So I got my break in working for a big four like KPMG, and where I became an IT auditor, and also I got opportunity to become a pen tester. From there, I learned risk management, and from risk management, I became a risk manager and a CISO later on. And after being a CISO for a number of years, I got an opportunity with Microsoft to join as a chief cybersecurity advisor for helping the CISO community or our customer CISO in helping them with their strategy and help them in using our product, what we sell them in a proper way. So short story, this is how I end up. But detailed story, go back to my LinkedIn and listen to a full recording of 3 different recordings I have on that.
Thank you very much, Abbas. Wonderful to know that your journey, and even from accounting's beginning, you could be a cybersecurity expert and leader as well. That's such a wonderful story. Now, let me talk to Jessica about your story. You are our alumni as well. That how from RMIT, your current role, and talk about your journey, please.
Yeah, definitely. So I started with RMIT in 2015. And I studied the Bachelor of Software Engineering. And I came in and I thought, I really love computers and I want to be this coder. And I walked in and I realized, okay, I really love this, but I'm not very good at coding and I don't think I can do this every day. And I thought, okay, I may as well drop out now. But I'm also really competitive, and there was a cybersecurity challenge happening at the time. And someone asked me, hey, do you want to form a team and let's compete together? And I'm like, don't know anything, so probably can't qualify. And they're like, that's okay, we'll just learn everything right before the competition. So that was kind of my introduction into cybersecurity, and we didn't do very well the first time around, but we got enough of a taste that we're like, okay, next time we go back, we're going to make it in the top 10. From there, I found the Cybersecurity Club. I found my fellow nerds who are very much interested in cybersecurity as well. And from there, we just got to expand on everything we learnt. And through that, I took an internship with PwC because I wanted to try it before I committed my time after university. And I just had the best time, and I just decided this is what I want to do every day. I would love to work for PwC as a job. And so they offered me a grad role. So it was really comforting going into my final year of uni, knowing that I had secured work at the end. And yeah, no regrets.
Absolutely. They are lucky to have you, and we are so proud of you that you're working with the PwC and making such a huge difference there. Peter, can we hear your story that, of course, you are our alumni as well, and you are wonderful doing in your profession. Tell us about your journey, please.
Yeah, so I started studying with RMIT in 2014, I think, and I did a double degree in electronics engineering and computer science. But the main thing that really got me into cybersecurity was the RMIT InfoSec Club, which was RMIT Cybersecurity Club, and which Jess and Alex both helped quite a lot with doing that, and it really did become about the community. So, through that club, we competed nationally, we competed internationally. Like a team of us got flown to Hong Kong to compete in a CTF, which was really cool, and that was run by EY. And that's sort of how I got my segue into working at EY as a pen tester. So after I had graduated, I had the job lined up at EY as a pen tester, and went and did that for a little bit, and now I'm a product security engineer at Zendesk, which is a little bit more back end, a little bit more behind the scenes, not as flashy as pen tester, but I think it's suited my skills a lot better because I really do enjoy that dev and programming side. And so this has a mixture of both.
Thank you very much, Peter. And let's hear from Alex as well. Of course, he is our alumni as well. And good to see that you three of you, Jessica and Peter and Alex, they have collaborated together and doing a lot of wonderful things in RMIT. So Alex, tell us about your story and where you are now and how did you get there?
Yeah, it's really actually quite a funny story. I know Peter and Jess will know this one. So I was actually working full time as a software engineer while I was doing my degree, and so I was very certain I was going to be doing software engineering. I was okay at it, good enough. But I quite enjoyed it. It was fun, but I always had a bit of an interest in cybersecurity, and so a friend of ours who was also actually part of the RMIT Security Club referred me to the company she was working for, which at the time was Ernst & Young, and she referred me for an interview for a cybersecurity job, and I spent like 2 weeks prepping for this job, and I was expecting it to be a defensive security thing, so how to protect a network. And it was a pen tester job, offensive security, how to attack it. And so I totally flunked this interview, had no idea what I was doing. I'd prepared for the entire wrong thing. They were like, you do realize this is an offensive job midway through, which confused me. Just really, really bad interview. Anyway, sort of to make myself feel better about absolutely tanking any chances of getting that job, I went to one of these CTF or Capture the Flags. They're kind of like a hacking competition that was being organized by the security club. And I had a pretty decent result that night. And 2 days later, I actually got a job offer by phone for the interview I tanked. And so sort of that opportunity through the security club turned a personal atrocity, like just a terrible, terrible interview, into my first job in security. Since then, I've been able to go on and I now work for Afterpay, who are just a fabulous employer, get to really work on building products that are worthy of our consumers' trust and hopefully make the world a better place.
Thank you very much. That indicates that within the university, so clubs like that where you guys can do wonderful things together and share knowledge, they are wonderful to be part of that. So let me turn to George. George, you have got a very interesting background. You are managing director and you're a founder of your company as well. So that's a unique position to be in. Can you share your experiences with us that how to be a founder? So we want our students to be founders even.
Yep, sure. And I think it relates to a lot of what everyone's already covered, which is finding your passion. So similar sort of story to most of the panelists here. From a young age, always interested in technology, always involved in technology. Studied and did a bachelor's degree in information systems. That degree had a bit of a mix of coding and networking and infrastructure, and also a business side to it as well. So there was IT law, industrial relations, accounting. So it gave me that little bit of a mix. I then went into various roles, starting as like IT support engineer, network engineer, working for a biotech company at the time. So always interested in sort of that detailed analytics, and I always had a passion for that. But at the same time, I also found that the work that I was doing throughout the roles, whether it be for an internal role or whether it was supporting external clients, the impact that it had to them was really where I found received the most enjoyment. So moved from the biotech company, I moved into the financial institutions. So Halifax Bank of Scotland, Lloyds International at the time. This was all pre-GFC, showing my age. But in infrastructure type roles, and also into IT strategy and delivery. During that time, it was sort of the peak of IT moving to the cloud, and I was finding myself that during outside of work hours, I was helping family, friends, other businesses with their IT and seeing the impact that it had to them. That's when I realized that I actually had a passion, and my real passion and driving force was to help other businesses and to help them succeed. And so I decided in 2009 to start my own business and move into the managed services space. My story is kind of unique in that sense, is that obviously we do a varied range of things in managed services, but underlying across everything that we do is an element of cybersecurity, no matter what it is, whether it's assisting an end user, whether it's application support, whether it's infrastructure support, whether it's connecting them to the internet or the cloud, or no matter what it is, there is an element of cybersecurity. So I think combining those sort of things together has led me to where I am now, and where I see myself heading as well in terms of that focus on cybersecurity, because it really does, it is the glue that holds everything together.
Thank you very much. And let me now come back to Matt now that you are a very accomplished professor and expert in your discipline. And can you tell us about your journey and how you became what you are today?
Yes, I'll sort of briefly go over it. I was actually studying in the UK, finished my undergraduate degree, and was then employed by the European Union, working on European Union projects across the European Union, including the European Space Agency, and got my PhD based on that work, and then sort of migrated to Australia and worked then with Australian governments and industry. And I think that's an important thing when we talk about cyber careers. They really are global. So, you know, our prospective students watching this today, you know, that you can complete a degree in Australia, and you can be working post-COVID, you know, in the US, in Europe, and anywhere in the world. So again, it's an example where skills, you know, can be transferred around the world.
Thank you very much. Let's talk about Jessica, Peter, and Alex, that you were involved in some of the extracurricular activities within RMIT as well. Jessica, can you talk about what were the, other than studying, for example, you were doing within the RMIT, where you find other people who are working in cybersecurity and various things as well?
Yeah, sure thing. I found myself getting involved in a lot of the clubs and societies, and the ones that I really stuck to was RISC, so the RMIT Information Security Collective. And throughout that, we had, with the help of RMIT, some industry supporters, I guess, and they would just come in and they would be able to do something like this and tell us, you know, what they did every day. Could ask them very blunt questions, and they could just tell you what they did that afternoon. But they would also ask us exactly what we wanted to learn. So, for example, we would ask the other members, "Hey, what do you want to do when you get out of here?" And if they said pen testing, we'd bring in pen testers from a number of different organizations, and they would just tell us exactly what that was like, so that when we did go into that interview and when we did finish university, we knew exactly what we were signing up for and what skills we needed to learn then and there. Yeah, so I think that was definitely like a pretty awesome way to learn, especially since, you know, who doesn't?
Thank you, Jessica. And Alex, do you want to add anything further to that, if there are any other activities you are involved?
So the only thing I could possibly add further to that is, you know, we all studied something that wasn't directly related to cybersecurity. So, like, I was computer science. Jess, I believe you were software engineering, if I'm not mistaken. And so, you know, I think for all three of us, without actually having been part of the RMIT Information Security Collective, without having made that extra effort, I think it's probably not an exaggeration to say we wouldn't be working in this industry. Like, that really is what brought out the passion in us and allowed us to get better and learn and, you know, have that industry contact. And it's kind of what you need as well. Like, the doing those extracurricular things is what people in the industry look for.
Thank you very much. Jessica, the other important question is that still at the moment, we see that in the cybersecurity and technology, still it's considered as a male-dominated sort of, you know, work environment. I would like to hear from you. What has been your experience when you are studying in RMIT and now at your workplace as well? Could you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, definitely. It became a bit of a game for me, but I would go into every lecture room while I was studying at RMIT, and I would count how many ladies I could count in the lecture theatre. And I remember it did get better as I proceeded throughout my degree. However, you know, it wouldn't be uncommon for me to be the one of two women in the room. But I think despite that, like I joined other clubs such as the Society for Women in Technology, and that helps me link up with other women in STEM. And if anything, I just had a lot more girlfriends after my degree because of that, because you kind of find, I guess you find your people and you stick together and you find a lot of allies like Peter and Alex. And, um, you will meet some people who will think that you're here because you've got special consideration. And then you have other people who kind of treat you as the equal that you are. And I do believe that there is still a gap in the industry, but I think a lot of people are making efforts to bridge that gap and make it a much more open environment for all genders and all people.
I have no doubt about that, Jessica. People like you would be a great role model, I think, to help to do that, and you would be a great leader, and definitely, and we look forward to work with you and many other leaders like yours, like you. Now, I think we talked about a fair bit soft skills, although cybersecurity is considered technology, but Matt has talked about human aspect of the cybersecurity as well. So let's talk about soft skill. Abbas, could you please tell us a few of the soft skills which are needed in this discipline, which you look for when you're hiring people?
Yeah, thanks. I believe you're going alphabetically, always Abbas first. But that's all right. I don't mind that. So, see, soft skills is a kind of a requirement in almost all the jobs you go. Especially, I give a high priority to soft skills for those who wants to step up into their role. So, I you can't expect everything from a fresher, right? We are expecting too many things, but soft skills can be learned on the job. So starting from a presentation skills, you might be asked to go in front of the board member and present something, understanding in a language which your non-technical folks can understand. So having a good presentation skills is one which you might have to learn, or you can of course learn those kind of skills. Second one is the interpersonal skills, because as a cybersecurity is not only about IT and technology, because cybersecurity is expanded towards the entire business. So you have to have an interpersonal skill and a stakeholder management skills where you can go and talk to other people, work with them as a team, as a team player as well. So a good communication, interpersonal skills, presentation skills, these go a long way into your career journey once you start working into cybersecurity field. Just to few to start with.
Thank you very much. And Peter, what do you think that any other soft skills possibly would be needed, which you look for in the graduates?
It's really just communication and communicating difficult concepts and ideas. That's really all we're looking for. And problem solving, obviously, but I'd put that as half soft, half hard skill. Yeah, it's always about communication.
Thank you very much. And George, and particularly in the innovation side, where you are a founder, and particularly if somebody want to have a startup company, what type of the soft skills they would be need to have to go into that sort of area?
Yeah, strong self-discipline, I think, is important. The ability to persist through problems, and I think Jessica mentioned it before about sometimes you've got to sleep on things, or you've really got to persist through things. Having that that strong grit and being able to grind through. And then, as everyone's mentioned, communication is key. I think professionalism is a big one as well. Just being able to communicate effectively, written and verbal, to get your point across. Yeah, they're the main ones.
Thank you. Matt, would you like to add any other you think that would be vital for the graduates in the cybersecurity area?
I think certainly some of those non-technical skills in terms of the human work, being able to present, being able to sort of write reports and talk to clients. So that's certainly what industry wants, is someone who can start within the organization and sort of fit in with what the organization expectations. And a lot of it also comes from confidence, and that's why things such as RMIT, like the Information Security Collective, the student club, is great because it helps the students build their confidence. As we heard, in terms of taking part in competitions and building networks, and it's really sort of a combination of those technical aspects and those non-technical aspects.
Thank you. Alex, would you like to add one particular skill you would like to see?
When we think about cybersecurity, it's a team sport, right? Where it's the same for a lot of technology, but cybersecurity is a team sport. We got to work together to be able to, provide sufficient protections and mitigations and controls. And so, I think we really talk about being a team player, and a lot of the time, what you'll find, especially in cybersecurity, more than any other industry, is you'll get championship players, so people who are unbelievably brilliant. And I think the key takeaway is you want people to be, you almost want to become the person who you would most like to work with. We say it a lot in our team at Afterpay, right? There's a lot of championship players, but we need to play like a championship team, right? We need to work together as a team. We need to put aside ego, and we need to make sure that we can get the job done. And so I think that mentality of being a team player and understanding it's a team sport is probably the most important and underrated soft skill.
Iqbal, one line I want to add, if you allow
Sure.
me. Having a good ethics and value is supersedes everyone, because in cybersecurity you have kind of access which nobody has it. So it's very fine line to cross that ethics line. So I would really highly recommend that anyone we are hiring, we see that one thing, that hey, you have to be honest for the role which you are applying. You have to be ethical and have a good value for what you have kind of access and kind of work what you do. Otherwise it's a very, very fine line to cross it.
Thank you very much, everybody. I think there has been a wonderful discussion, and your responses, I have no doubt about that, that our new graduates, they would be listening, and hopefully that's student who wanted to decide if they wanted to go have a career in cybersecurity, that would be very helpful for them. So there are a few questions which I just want to ask, and which are some from the audience and some of which for clarification. Abbas, let me start with you first one, that you said that there are a lot of jobs in seek for cybersecurity experts. Do you see this demand increasing over the next 5 years, and why?
Absolutely. Well, let's start with why first, because cybersecurity is not only about the IT. Now cybersecurity is become a business issue. If you look at the World Economic Forum, the top 5 things which World Economic Forum is concerned after natural disaster and pandemic, the number 3 is a cybersecurity. So it is a huge upcoming and a demanding job. We are constantly going to see a good people being required. If you look at today in Australia, because of lockdown, no new migrant can come in. People are throwing jobs to everyone who wants to change, even from the existing. They are throwing money. As how much you want, you come and join my company. So that kind of demand we have, because they can't get enough people to recruit, either not available physically here to work within Australia. And this demand is going to continue because of the so-called cybersecurity reasons we see today.
So it would be very safe bet at the moment to start a career in a cybersecurity, and that there would be in the future, there would be, as I think Alex has also indicated, probably in the future, there would be a lot more new type of the jobs, even which probably we don't believe on those.
And you can change your role. Doesn't matter what you're working today, in which industry or what qualification background. With a little bit of effort, you can switch your career and join the cybersecurity. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Abbas. And let me ask another question which has been raised, that what's the biggest misconception people have about those who work in cybersecurity? Jessica, let me talk to you. What
I need to laugh at that.
Misconception people is there. So once again, what's the biggest misconception people have about those who work in cybersecurity?
We all can hack each other's Gmail account.
Yeah, I think I've heard people come to me and they go, "Oh, you work in cybersecurity, so you should be able to hack my ex-boyfriend's Facebook account." And it's the question. Yeah, it's not a guarantee, but also, yeah, cybersecurity touches so many different roles. Like I work with people who are lawyers, and they work in cybersecurity, and they navigate the legalities of everything that we do. So I think, yeah, just because you work in cybersecurity does not necessarily make you that typical hacker that's sitting in your mum's basement.
Thank you. And Peter, what is that misconception you see?
I was gonna say something similar, that we don't sit in dimly lit rooms and do computers all day. Like, I've met some of the most varied people in cybersecurity that has just been absolutely insane. Like, I can't describe some of the hobbies these people have. For example, Jess has, I think, no less than 600 plants in a tiny apartment. But I found that if you talk to anyone, they will go in depth about something completely unrelated to computers. And it gets to a point in cybersecurity, I think, where you start hating computers more than you love them, and you just want to get away from them. So they have some really good hobbies.
Thank you. Alex, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think there's a misconception that it's a purely technical field. Like, you must know everything about computers. You must know every technical nuance. Must be able to code. It's actually quite a wide field, right? There's a lot of space for there's a technical space, and there are people who work in the technical domain and are pen testers sitting in dimly lit rooms. Peter, looking at you. But there are also a whole range of roles, from on the legal side, in terms of governance, in terms of process, in terms of community engagement and culture. How many times have you seen an organization come out and say the words, "We take your security very seriously," right? It's a running joke at this point. And so having someone in communications, it's quite a full nuanced field in and of itself, with this varied amount of roles. And I think there's this conception that you must be the most technically elite person, and it's really not it, right? Like, we don't need championship players, we need championship teams.
Thank you very much, Alex. And George, so what you heard anything about this sort of misconceptions?
Yeah, two parts. Probably the typical, the hackers in hoodies working in the dark, and them being introverted, which I don't think is very true. And I think this panel is a good example of a non-introverted group of people who work in cybersecurity. The other part of it is what Alex just touched on. I think the best cybersecurity experts I've been engaged with are the ones that really understand the psychology as well, really trying to understand what motivates those to build attacks and to try and penetrate networks, and really understanding that side of it. I think they're the ones that typically have the most success in their field and really understand it. And that's not a technical skill. It's definitely one of those soft skills.
Definitely. Abbas, what you have heard in your career journey that the people have got a somehow misconception about cybersecurity professional, they should look like and they should be?
Yeah, no, similar one. Like everyone, can you fix my mobile phone? It's not working. Can you hack can you recover my forget password, or can you hack so and so's account? I need to see my ex-girlfriend or whatever it is. When you get so many such requests, I remember working as a CISO. Even my CI used to come and tell me, "Can you go and fix iPhone?" I said, "I can't do all that." So yeah.
Thank you very much, Bas. And the next question is, Matt, for you, is there that can you have a career in cybersecurity with a bachelor in information technology?
You certainly can. What it does is it gives you a strong foundation in the technology, but also at RMIT it teaches those skills of teamwork, of presentation, report writing. So again, it's such a solid foundation, and you can see that today with our great, ex-students, our alumni, who have studied the Bachelor of IT and are now, having great careers in cybersecurity. So you just have to, look at our successes here tonight on the panel to realize studying a bachelor's of IT at RMIT gives you that career pathway.
Absolutely. And also, if we see that the research which we do, and Matt is, of course, is the director of the research center in cybersecurity. And it's a broad area of research, and of course, in the human aspect, in the organizational security and the technology. And we do a lot of malware reverse engineering research. For example, we look at the phishing and federated phishing filters, new type of the way of tackling the problems. And similarly, in the organizational level, risk analysis point of view, and probably Matt can talk a couple of things about the cybersecurity perspective as well, how people can get involved in research, Matt, if they wanted to work with the RMIT.
Well, and again, when students complete their bachelor's of IT, they have the option to do a one-year honours program, which really is a pathway into research. So they can specialise on a research area based on a one-year project, and then lead into a PhD from that. So really, it means if you're interested in cyber, you can start with a bachelor's degree at RMIT and leave with a PhD if that's the pathway you want to choose.
Thank you very much. And I think that was absolutely wonderful today to have a discussion about various different courses and the various questions people might have when they are thinking to sort of start their career in learning about cybersecurity. So I truly appreciate all of your time and your comments on that one. So again, I will remind everybody that still our website is open on the open day, because we have pivoted in how we conduct our open days even. So, you from our websites, you can access this particular broadcast again, if in case you have missed out or if you wanted to go over any particular question. And there are a lot of other information available on our website as well. So it was absolutely wonderful to have you all. So, and thank you very much for your expertise in this one. So that's it for today, and I appreciate for all of your time. Thank you.